Hello everybody, my name is Corey and this is Top 3, where we count down the top 3 things on any given week. This week we're going to start off with the downer. The top 3 most disappointing things that we're going to miss out on due to the coronavirus quarantine. So, getting into it, we're going to be counting down the top 3 things that were disappointing that we're missing out on due to the coronavirus quarantine. But what you need to understand is I'm not talking about, the death and disease and the ravaging of our economy and all those things. What I'm going to focus on here is just the things that we would miss out on that we normally would be taking part in or would be enjoying if there was no quarantine. So, let's start off with number 3. The canceled NBA season. So I am a big sports fan. If you didn't know, I watch the NBA mainly in playoff times because they play a lot of games. But when I look at this season and everything that was culminating or setting up to occur, I'm very disappointed. As you know, this year we lost Kobe Bryant. It was very tragic. It was very sad. A lot of people came out, brought up old stuff, tried to throw dirt on Kobe Bryant's name. Now, coincidentally, we have LeBron James leading the Los Angeles Lakers along with AD, and things are setting up for these guys to come out of the West and win a championship for the Los Angeles Lakers. It would have been one of the best stories that we could have saw in sports after losing Kobe Bryant. The Lakers were the number 1 seed. Not only that, you would have had not just a cakewalk for the Lakers to come out of the West. You had Houston, who was looking real good. You had the Clippers, who were looking real good. And even when they made it to the East and in the finals, you had the possibility of Giannis in the Bucks coming out of the East. Maybe Miami with Jimmy Butler and those guys. It just looked like it would have been a great NBA Finals season and a real test for LeBron James. I'm a LeBron James fan, by the way, and I just would have loved to see him overcome some real adversity and get out of the West and win a championship and bring respect back to the Lakers, even after losing Kobe Bryant in that tragic helicopter accident. It would have been great. Not only that, I'm in Lafayette, Louisiana. Zion Williamson was balling. He was doing his thing. It looked like the Pelicans would have made that 8 seed. You would have got to see a best of 7 series with LeBron James versus Zion Williamson, the past and the present, the passing of the torch. It would have been great. A whole bunch of storylines would have played out, but unfortunately, we don't get to see that. Number 2. The cancellation of all the good movies and all the TV shows that were filming and being put into production. I debated on whether this would be number 1 for me or not, and I had to leave it at 2 because it's number 1 in my heart, but not number 1 that I think other people would be able to relate to. But let me express my disappointment. We had multiple movies set to come out. We had Mulan, New Mutants, Black Widow, all the Marvel television shows that were set to be released in this coming fall. Now everything has been pushed to next year. And I know that some films are being released on streaming, but it's not the same. And here is the reason why I say it's not the same. Take a look at this clip. Words cannot express how hype I was when I was in the theater when I saw this same exact footage. Now listen, I know Black Widow was not going to be Avengers Endgame, but there's something to be said about the theater experience that you get from watching a movie at the theater. I just miss going to the movies. Honorable mentions: My honorable mention is actually weird, like, because I'm what they call a self-professed Christian. Like, I talk about God and I talk about Christ, and I'm a follower of Christ, and maybe people will have expected me to have church meetings on this list, so I put it as an honorable mention. Here's why it's an honorable mention, but not necessarily in the top 3. First and foremost, church is a building. I don't think people grasp that idea. I know it's something that is taught in church. Well, depending on what church you go to, it's taught there. But God never intended us to be Christians that only are Christians when we're in a certain building. So our relationship with God and our walk with God and our status as Christians aren't, none of those things are hinged on meeting with each other every Sunday. So I can't put church on that list. If you read your Bible and you are part of a body of believers, let's say you go to a small group and you pray and you lead your family in prayer, or you lead your kids in prayer, or you foster a Christian home and you're living the Christian life, but you don't go to meetings on Sunday. Let's just say you do Wednesday night small group. You might be spiritually stronger than some of the people that actually go to church meetings on Sunday morning and Sunday morning only. So I can't put church on that list and say, oh, it's so disappointing that we can't have church services, because you can still be a Christian at home. And that's why it's an honorable mention and not one of the 3. Moving on to the biggest disappointment that I think most people could agree on. Number 1 would be the canceling of the school year for all of our students. So I've been teaching for 11 years in public school. I've been teaching this first year here. This academic year was my first year teaching private school. I did a long time in middle, but I've taught high school, middle school, and now I'm back at high school. And when I say it's such a disappointment to see our seniors, not just at my school, but at every school, miss out on their high school graduation. It's such a disappointment that our freshmen don't get the full first year of high school completed. You don't have that. You have my daughter is 5 years old in kindergarten, going to be transitioning into first grade, and it's like they do little pre-K and kindergarten awards, and it's like, that's not happening. And people are trying to do things virtually and trying to give people recognition online and trying to do these weird ceremonies. Nothing can compare to having your family there and recognizing that step from being a child into, it's the first step of adulthood to graduate from high school. And they don't get that. And that's very tragic. It's heartbreaking. Some of these kids, and it's weird to say this in 2020, but the NFL draft happened very recently, and it was even stated on there, some kids are the first people in their families to graduate from high school, and yet they don't get a ceremony to celebrate that. Very, very sad. So yeah, that's my top 3. Number 3 being the cancellation of the NBA season. Number 2 being the cancellation of all our summer movies, as well as our fall entertainment that was going into production. Now it's canceled. And number 1 being the cancellation of the academic school year for all of our high school, middle school, and little bitty kids. I hope you enjoyed my list. If you got a different list, please leave it in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, come back for movie reviews, product reviews, and everything else I'm doing here on Whole Views. Enjoy yourself and guard your heart.